We're on site in Silver Spring, Maryland at a landscaping project where we are putting 421 native plants in the ground today. When the homeowners here first bought this home, there were invasives everywhere, there was trash in the ground, there was rubble, there was concrete. Now all of that's been cleared out. We have 10 native trees that have been planted thanks to local initiatives for free, provided to this family for free. And now we have dozens of native shrubs from local nurseries that are about to go in, and hundreds of perennials from Garden for Wildlife that are going to completely fill out this landscape into something that looks really lush, really magical. Let's go do this. This arc looked so beautiful that it's like we need to tangent the arc and then have another arc.
Yeah.
Okay. Just kind of mirroring that. Perfect. It is a lot wider than 4 feet, but that's okay because it's just the stepping stones will be centered. I want the apex of this arc and the apex of this arc to triangulate,
right,
and then be perfectly triangulated on the apex of this next arc that we're about to do. I'm so excited!
You all really did get
It's called arcs and tangents, okay? Look it up. We and I were actually just discussing the intricacies of group dynamics, and I think I want to do a campaign where you're DMing Lee. The way you said you kind of yes and is what I want.
Yeah, it's improv. It's improv. It's
Well,
not
he doesn't,
mechanics.
and he doesn't like every interesting thing you want your character to take for journey and for growth. He doesn't just make you roll for it. It's like if that makes sense, you don't have to roll for it.
Why roll dice when we can tell a story?
That's been my entire problem with the concept of D&D.
Yeah.
It's like the story, the narrative doesn't make sense if you have to roll for everything.
But with the dice.
Hard edge is cool.
Like the edging, you mean?
Yeah.
The fact that it's giving a sense of place to this otherwise completely blank canvas of a space.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Edging is everything.
It has been, that means two things.
It does.
But
with this path going in, you're gonna feel like you have an actual place.
that I live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just help you because I need to wait till this curve is done to measure this one anyway.
Okay. I think. Here we go. See if you can put those plastic bits on the ground there. Yeah, perfect.
So that's like where it's gonna.
Yep.
This one needs to curve out more.
Yeah.
Done that one. We're ready to go.
It's okay. You're not rolling, are you?
I've asked Julie, and I have not seen it delivered,
Yeah.
for slow motion thirst traps of my 6'3", 300-pound linebacker husband slow motion building things, and you have not done it.
Oh, this is gonna look so cute.
Isn't it like you can visualize it now, right?
It's way too big to be called cute.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Okay, so Mal is the shortest person currently living in the, is that true? You're gonna get taller though.
No,
You're, oh, you are,
he's
okay.
almost 6 foot. Yeah, I'm the shortest
Okay,
one by a mile.
so she's gonna walk these pavers that we've kind of irregularly placed to make sure that it feels generally pretty natural. Of course, there's gonna be mulch that levels out the distance. So just let me know if anything tweaks, you can rotate it 45 or 90 degrees, or we can move stuff back and forth, because we've kind of just very roughly. Okay, so that felt a little weird, right?
Yeah, that one was a little wide, but
So we'll just push it in. Like, that looks good, I think. And then if we just rotate some 90 degrees to create a little more irregularity in the shapes.
Overall, I think it does feel good. And I mean, like, that one might be a little higher. I think that feels pretty good. And
They're gonna start filling it with mulch, so then it's like gonna be harder to move after that.
so they're putting sand underneath them, and then
They haven't done the sand.
Yeah.
We maybe should.
yeah.
The path is in. We leveled a bunch of the steppers with sand underneath. We've filled the pathway in with mulch. This is just inexpensive landscape edging on both sides. It's really easy to DIY that part. That's why they chose that option. Eventually, they are going to get some starts for some creeping native ground covers. You can even do clover is a good one, white clover, and they will plant them in these mulch beds so that ground cover will actually fill in all of this mulch instead of just being wood chips. There's compost underneath and wood chips on top. And eventually you'll see that greenery coming through all of these pavers with these little slate kind of stone pockets peeking through that you can walk on. That's going to suppress weeds so that this pathway won't need to be maintained. It will also stabilize the soil and help these pavers stay level even during heavy rain events and things that might cause erosion. It's going to prevent when we have a ton of water moving through this hill, because this is a high point in the landscape, that is a low point in the landscape. It's going to prevent the erosion of all of this material to have those plants growing. So it's important to really pay attention to the mature size of the plant and not just go off of what the fern or the plant looks and feels like now. These have about a 2x2 mature size, so they are going to fill in nicely here. And we want these ferns to not hedge together. We want to be able to tell that they're ferns. So I'm making sure to space them more than 1 foot apart from each other so that as it grows to 2 feet, you have that differentiation. So it's okay to just have a tape measure handy and pull it out to the mature size of the plant and kind of use that to center where you want to put these. One of the primary mistakes I see DIY landscapers make is planting plants way too close together when they're young. So just make sure that you are being generous. It's okay that it looks a little silly and a little bit like sticks in the ground for a while. 3 years is about the time that you can expect before your landscape is fully mature. Wouldn't it be fun if this was like kind of an outdoor kitchen? You could be like, order up, ding ding.
This would make a great outdoor kitchen right
Right?
here. Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense for literally anything else.
Yeah.
Because then you're just like putting the order up.
Yeah.
One of the most time-consuming parts of the process is actually just figuring out where the plants go and getting them into place. Here before you, you see the planting map, which is part of the YardFarmer design. Every single plant is assigned a 3-letter code, and we are now figuring out what those 3-letter codes mean and then getting the correct plants in the correct space. There you go. You got just right, yeah, between those 2 trees over there. And just that's more than enough for now. We'll figure it out later. And so now we're kind of operating a command center where I'm yelling out the plant names. We're traying up those plants and then putting them kind of in the general spots where they need to go, because then once you're standing in the correct spot, it's not so hard to space things out correctly without having to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's working out better this way. Definitely a 2-man job, if not 3. Doing it on your own would take a really long time. ECB is Eastern Columbine. Those are those kind of brownish ones. Yeah. Oh, I need to tell you how many. 7 of them.
7?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. What we're actually doing for this entire area is just more fine fescue that will kind of blend seamlessly with the tall and fine fescue mix that your neighbor has.
Excellent.
That way you don't need to have like a fence or anything or edging go all the way to the street.
Perfect.
So this is going to be landscaping, but then up into this rain garden, we're just sowing the fine fescue seed. I don't want you to do the like tall like meadow mix, because that's just going to send native prairie grasses into your neighbor's yard, so we'll just do fine fescue here. I would recommend sowing it like on the edges of the rain garden on both sides, otherwise this is just going to be a mess of weeds all the time.
Okay.
However, the thing that you would need to do in order to prevent it from growing up into your path is you want to like dig a little trench. It only needs to be like 2 inches deep, 3 inches deep, probably about that thick. Like that, right? Mm-hmm. You want to dig a little trench. So one, it looks like a nice clean edge,
it's like a fire break.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
What will happen is the rhizomes on the grass will, if there's a trench here, they'll go like this, and they'll stick and they'll air prune themselves, because they'll hit the air in that little trench, and then they'll be like, I can't grow anymore, and then they won't grow into your pathway.
Gotcha. Nice.
So you can just use I don't know, some sort of tool to just scrape down a couple of inches, whatever is manageable for you, and then as you get he's going to put compost here, so then you can sow the fine fescue directly on top of that compost.
Good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That can be this entire area.
Yeah. Cool.
I would seed it twice this fall, twice again in the next spring, summer, and then just until it looks the way you want it to look, just keep occasionally overseeding with the fine fescue. The pathway, whenever you feel like it, you could sow white clover. You could do like a creeping thyme sort of thing that you just plant the starts. You would just move the mulch aside and plant it right there in the ground. I would love eventually to see the entire mulch pathway just be low growing ground cover, because then you never have to weed it. It also stabilizes, sorry, if you can, it's probably fine. It will also stabilize this slope, so that every single time it rains, you won't have erosion. Your steppers won't shift.
Oh, right.
Because the roots of the ground cover that you sow in this will keep all of these pavers in place, even when we have weather events and rain and winter and so on. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's the plan for the path. As soon as that edging's down, compost and amazing landscaping plants there, ground cover there. This is just your fine fescue like lawn.
Love it. Mm-hmm.
So this is also a place that the dogs can like kind of hang out on too.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Nice.
That's the plan. That's it. Cool.
Do they need to be very far apart from each other, the milkweeds, or can they fairly friendly?
Yeah, no, you can space them out. I think they have a 3 foot by 3 foot. Okay. So definitely space them at least 1.5 foot apart from each other.
Okay.
So basically like I'm kind of here in the center of the swale.
Okay.
So put one to the left of me. So there, and one kind of up by you. Because there's a 3 foot, so they're gonna fill in and touch each other there.
Okay. 8 of these on this end.
Exactly. You can kind of just fill them in randomly.
I had to say, I have had more fun playing in the dirt on this project than I have in a very long time.
Good. like 3 of them pretty closely planted here at the front.
In a line or
Just a clump, like a triangle. Yep. Perfect. And then move that guy just a little bit forward so that it's kind of zigzagging. Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. We have dozens of plants from Garden for Wildlife now set in the rain garden about to be planted. We're just going to dig down a little bit because we've integrated some of the native soil with compost. We'll fill in a little bit more with compost once we've dug in, kind of set the little start in there, add some compost as a top dressing to kind of settle everything. These plants are at the bottom of this depression. These are a set of like 3 vertical swales. These are going perpendicular to a contour rather than on contour. So it's really traveling, it's moving the water from the highest point in the landscape to the lowest point of the landscape. All of these plants are incredibly thirsty plants. They want to have wet feet. They want to absorb water. So every time there's a rain event, the water is going to channel down into these swales, and these plants are going to stabilize the soil and thrive. And eventually, you're not even going to notice that there is a swale there because all of the plants will have filled into yay height, and you're not going to notice that it even dips down at all, except for when it's a rain event and you don't have a river of water pouring down the side of your yard because it has somewhere to go. We have put 421. I said 412 yesterday, but I had inverted some numbers. 421 plants are now in your yard.
Yeah.
And that was rough. That was 12 hours of work, but you went from having absolutely no visual semblance of a yard to at least like seeing the bones of a yard.
Yeah.
With plenty of work left to do, but plenty got done.
Well worth it.
So you have Christmas ferns, which are an amazing native fern, swooping around this tree over here. Behind here is where you're going to compost.
Absolutely.
So this gap here, you can just throw some pavers down whenever you're ready and walk right back to your compost pile. There's room to store a wheelbarrow back there. It'll be perfect. This is going to get much bigger and eventually kind of shelter that view completely from the area. We're standing pretty much where your new fire pit area will be, and you are going to do that fine aggregate gravel that we talked about, which is great. Here, oh my gosh, there's so many plants. The thing that is hilarious about getting starts this young is it just looks like some funny little fluffy sticks in the ground. When this is filled in 3 years, you're not going to see soil up until this point. This is where you're going to start to see dirt, and all of this is just going to be a massive greenery, which is going to be phenomenal. And we talked about maybe you could just put some sedges or just some low-growing ground cover around the tree so that you don't have to weed it. Oh, your path! Oh. Tell me how you feel about the path, Nick.
So good. I'm lost for words on it. It's been a long time since I have been able to get into my shed without tracking dirt into and out of it.
And yep, you're gonna have a clean way to get in and out. The mulch, eventually you are just going to have clover and wild ginger that's gonna just fill all around here because you literally have starts of it or volunteers of it peeking through your pathway already. So, I mean, you could help it along, but give it a couple of years and you're just gonna have a gorgeous green path with the steppers throughout it, which is pretty phenomenal. Beautiful shrubs. This serviceberry went in today. This was a tree provided by the state, the county.
Yep.
The county. Ah, the rain garden. Okay. 3 swales. Swale 1, swale 2, swale 3. All of these are plants that want water, they want rain. I'm so excited. When these are fully grown, you're not gonna actually notice that there's a swale here. So the plants are gonna be like this. And
we won't walk through
and you won't walk through it because it's completely full.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is not really meant to kind of be accessed. Where you're standing, you're gonna put some shrubs and stuff eventually, but this is going to channel all of the water that comes from this corner of your yard. And we know that it's a lot. We've seen how much water can move through this yard. So no more floods, no more mud. It's done.
That's worth every penny right there.
It's worth every penny. Remember what Lee said about how we put the first piece of edging down and all of a sudden we could see it.
It was just a yard all of a sudden.
If I could give anybody advice on how to actually map out a yard, map out the spaces you're gonna use, outdoor kitchen, outdoor living, outdoor dining, fire pit first, function first,
Yep.
and then ask yourself, how are you gonna get to these places? You need to get to the shed. How are you gonna get there? Pathway goes here to there. How are you gonna get down to the front of the house? Pathway goes there. By the time you put edging down to shape those hallways from the rooms in your floor plan, you have a design, and then you just get to stick whatever cute plants you want on the sides of it. That's really the formula.
It's really beautiful.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard to contemplate.
It's not that hard to think about.
Yeah.
How long have you been working on this?
The past 2 months have been pretty much every day, but a lot before that. And this has been the most cathartic part, where, you know, everything else that I've done was ripping out and undoing the misdeeds of the previous owner, and
Which were plentiful.
yeah. and now we actually have something that resembles something like usable and beautiful, and it's making me emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, you said you turned the corner
I did. I nearly cried.
because it
I'd
looks like
forgotten.
a place.
Yeah, because every time I've come back here for the past at least 9 months, this has just been dirt.
Yep.
And dirt was often a best case scenario.
Right.
And so now we come back here and it's like mulch and things and care and love and plants, and I could not be happier. Because I have come back here and literally expected the worst all the time. And
It's gonna take about 2 years for this to look the way we imagine it looking in our wildest dreams.
Yes.
I will be back in 2 years to hang out and sit on that fire pit
absolutely.
and enjoy the fruits of our labor.
Just the coldest beverage on the planet.
Please, please. And another ice cream, because that was pretty legit. We're done.
Yeah.
We're gonna eat some cake, I hope.
Yes.
And that's a wrap. Native plants, native plants. Goodbye.